Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, and I know a bunch of you are, welcome. I am Disco Kitty the Crappy Crafter. Today we're going to be testing this thing out again. I know, we did it just a few weeks ago, and I said I was going to give it time to rest. Remember that this is the housing to make molds for small things, specifically meant for dice, but it can be any small thing. Somebody came up with an idea on how to kind of seal these areas, and I'm excited to get into it. But today, we're also going to be testing this thing. There we go. That's a picture you recognize. So it is the Resiner's vacuum chamber. I have a vacuum chamber with a complete vacuum setup, but I haven't actually set it up. I got this one because, well, I had some gift cards to Amazon, so I used them to get this and it was on sale because this was pretty expensive. I think it runs for like $150. I don't know, I'll leave it up there. There will be a link to below so you can get one yourself if you want one. We'll see. I'm gonna use it on both silicone and resin, so let's get right into it. Okay, so the last time we did this, I was recommended to use poster tack, which I assume is the same thing as blue tack, but I am going to use way too much blue tack, and it's not going to seal it, it's just going to make it spread farther apart, and the leak is going to be a little bit worse, but you know what? Let's watch the process. This was actually my second attempt. The first attempt I put on like 3 times the amount of blue tack, and it really spread everything wide open. This looked okay, but as we'll see, it's not going to work so well. So here I am mixing up my 2-part silicone. I use the Let's Resin silicone because it's simple, it's easy. I really like its fluidity. It gets into lots of little crevices and stuff like that. And it has a pretty good tensile strength once it's, cured. It's not super hard, it's not super soft. We're also going to be testing the degassing thing from Resiners. I know I said I didn't want to use this because it looked like the bottom warps when it starts really sucking the air out, but I didn't really notice that this time, with my own. So that's good. Yay. And I thought it's pretty cool. It's pretty awesome. Yeah, I'm not going to be able to watch it there, though, because the vibrating of the table is just making the camera do a weird thing. So we're going to try a different thing. You can see that the cup is vibrating its way across the bottom of the pot. Here, oh, this was such a bad idea. This isn't pulling air out of the silicone, it's pulling air out of the 3D printed piece at the bottom. Yeah, that didn't work so good. No, that was bad. But I don't think I got any silicone in the thing. Not that it would have mattered if I did, because it would, make it more solid. But yeah, this is when I finally realized that I wasn't pulling where I thought I was pulling. Such a lovely sound, isn't it? Psst, yeah. Anyway, so it actually worked pretty well. It degassed it pretty well as far as I can tell. I didn't notice any bubbles afterwards. We'll see down the line though. The softer a silicone is, the more likely the bubbles will come back if you use like a pressure pot. But if you degas it like this, they should be just gone. So we'll see what happens. We'll see. I'm definitely going to keep using the degassing machine. It seems to work pretty well. I don't have to warm things up afterwards or while I'm mixing them, which is nice. but things tend to mix better when they're warm, so I really don't know. I don't know. I'll keep using it. Here we're watching it do its negative pressure. I have no idea what kPa stands for, but it goes to 95 and then it holds steady. Yeah. Anyway, this didn't work as well as I was hoping. You can see some of it leaked a little bit. Go figure. But yeah, and then we're gonna cook it, which is just gonna make the silicone even thinner and leak more. You can see it leaking now, but it's look at all that leakage. Look at it all. So much leaked out this time. So much. It was so gross. Although I was able to get the nut off real easy. That was surprising. Now this is the gross. Gross. I will never, ever, ever do that again. That was just so, I'm gonna feel so bad because I'm gonna put so much effort into this particular mold and then I'm just gonna huck it later. Spoilers, I probably shouldn't have said that, huh? Anyway. No surprises on this channel. We don't like surprises. This is going to fail in a big way. Well, this part isn't going to fail. My attempt at making the second half is going to fail real bad. All over everything. Okay, maybe just a little puddle, but it feels like it's all over everything. And getting this blue stuff off, oh my god, this stuff is real sticky, which is real good. That's what it's meant for. But holy crap, trying to get it off the textured surface of this thing was just, it was rough. It was rough. But, you know, I wasn't too overly upset over it. It was just a thing. Cleaning it with alcohol, probably shouldn't. I don't actually know what plastic this is. I probably should look it up. And then trying to get the bottom off. Shploop. Unfortunately, I didn't take the tape off first. I keep forgetting to take the tape off. So what it did was it pulled the sides away from the faces, which means that the numbers, the raised numbers in the mold are no longer sitting in the numbers of the die anymore. So now they're erased. It'll be interesting. I don't know if it would have actually worked. I mean, the whole thing's gonna fail in a few minutes anyways, but I'm curious to see what would have happened if I'd been able to actually make the second half of the mold, see if it like schlooped down into the cavity again or something. But here I am, I'm trying to make I'm trying to seal it. I'm just trying to find different ways to seal it. I had this epiphany when I was sleeping, and this is so totally not going to work because the plastic is just going to crinkle and wrinkle, and it's not going to be flat, and it's not going to do what I want it to do. I thought it was going to be a good idea, but it's just too thick. It's a page protector that I cut up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to chuck that. I don't want it anymore. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the other half of the page protector and I'm going to cut a sheet out of it, a slice out of it, and then we're going to remember to put talc powder on the mold because I don't use Vaseline. One of these days I really have to see if my talc powder is radioactive. I have one of those K2 meters downstairs, you know, for ghost hunting, that I keep telling myself I'm going to do and just haven't gotten around to it. Do you guys want to watch me do ghost hunting? I have a whole other channel for ghost hunting, but I haven't actually put anything on it. Let me know what you think. I have a ghost doll. She's very sweet. I have two now, actually. I forgot. Oh, how could I forget I got a second ghost doll? Anyways, so we're doing this. This would have worked. This would have worked if I hadn't messed it up. But we'll see what happens. Making more silicone. Don't worry, you won't have to watch me do this all the time. Mixy, mixy. We're gonna use the degasser and get rid of the bubbles again. Eee. And look at me, look at me. This will be the only time that I actually remember to cut a stupid key. I remembered to cut the key. And I did put talc powder in it. I just didn't show it. See this, if I had just left it, alone. Left it alone. Don't try to degas it again. No, because now it's leaking. And I tried, yep. I screwed it up so bad. I just threw the whole thing out because I wasn't going to try to salvage that. It was going to take a lot of cleaning, and the dye wouldn't have sat flat in it anymore. I'm trying to figure out different ways to seal it. It fit so perfectly. Like it was meant to fit into one of those grooves, but unfortunately the cup was just too fragile and it broke. And this was almost perfect, but not quite. So yeah, use a glove to put your dye on the tape because then you won't leave fingerprints. You won't have to clean it again afterwards. Now we're just going to use tape. Just tape, because I really want these keys. I love these keys, even if they are... And not keys, the locks. They're locks. They're latches. They hold the lid down, kind of. I'm actually going to put 2 beads of hot glue on this. But I'm only going to show you one because, you know, it's hot glue. Woo! Yay! And that actually works. Holds it in really, really well. Yay! Oh, I thought I said we weren't going to watch any more of this, didn't I? I'm a bad person. I'm sorry. Mixy. Get lots of air in there to use the vacuum sucker to get it out, and then pour it in. And then we cooked it. Actually, you know what? I think I let that sit overnight. I did. I let that part sit overnight because it had been a long day and I was just tired and I wanted to do other things. So I did other things, and I did the second half like the next day after work or something. I don't remember. I am not going to cut a key because I am dumb. I'll do it afterwards, and I will do it wrong. Oh, so wrong. This round is really going to prove why there shouldn't be 4 of those. There should only be 3, and they shouldn't be equidistant from each other. Because I don't cut a key, because I just don't think about it, because I have half a brain when I'm lucky. Yes, I'm using it. This is why I really like this silicone, because you can use it in a pipette. It's super thin when it's mixing time, but it becomes fairly sturdy. I really like it. All right, time to cook it. And it works. It actually worked. I mean, it's not the perfect mold. It's kind of big, you know. I like my molds smaller, but I do like it. Took the dye out. Here is where I'm gonna mess this up, because I didn't cut a key. I'm going to cut a key now. I'm also cutting a place where the resin can smoosh out so you don't get a raised face, because the creator of the mold housing said you can get a raised face if you don't smoosh your resin out. So here we are mixing some resin, getting lots of bubbles in it, and then we're going to use the vacuum pot in order to get rid of the bubbles. I really thought it was going to froth up more than it did. And unfortunately, I guess I didn't take a video of this. Oh well. So, straight through to the end of cooking. Missed a whole bunch of steps in there. Went from, you know, degassing to cooking. Oh well. Anyways, so cutting the key out so that the resin smooshed out actually worked really, really well. The problem is that I didn't have the cap lined up right. You can see here, see the shiny part? The shiny part isn't lined up right. And yes, there are some bubbles in the resin. So I'll still have to do a pressure pot thing, I think. But you know what? It worked pretty well. Well, that came out pretty well. Here's the die that I made. And remember, this is my thing. This is a die. A whole bunch of these are dice. This is not a dice. Just saying. Anyways, so here's the die. You'll notice, where's the one? You'll notice that it's not quite shiny, right? Do you see that? Can you see that? I don't know if you can see that. And here's why that is. I accidentally cut the key in the wrong place. That's why if you use this and he doesn't modify it to make a key, or modify it so these are not in slightly different places, you gotta cut your key before you mold your second half. Gotta cut your key before you mold your second half, because I was dumb and I didn't, and then I put it together wrong. I put it together like this, and as you can see, the locks, the keys don't quite fit right, but my brain just wasn't working, so it needed to be over one. And now you can see, oops, they all fit just fine. Oopsie. So, anyways, cut your key in the first half before you make your second half, because I was dumb and I forgot to do that. But other than that, I think this was a technical success. Yes, I think this worked pretty well. You know, it's doing what it's supposed to do. Excuse me, I'm sorry. And I think I'll be able to make lots of D20s with this. So, for this thing, the Resiner's Bubble Degasser, I really like it for the silicone. It worked amazing for the silicone. I mean, just look at this. As far as I can tell, there's nothing in there. It worked really, really well. I'm really, really happy with the silicone. The resin, on the other hand, I don't know if you can see that. Do you see them? The little bubbles around the 20. I ended up with bubbles in my resin, even though I put it through a 9-minute degassing, and I did not warm it, because I usually warm my resin because that also helps degassing, but warming it like halves the pot life. So if it has a 40-minute pot life, usually if you warm it, you're only going to have like 20-25 minutes if you're lucky. Sometimes it could be less depending on how much you warm it, because the whole thing is an exothermic process, so the warmer it gets, the faster it cures. That's why that's why this thing works, you know? That's why the cooker works. That's why the hot plates work, because it warms the resin and makes it cure faster, because it's getting hotter. I don't know. I might try it again. Well, I mean, obviously I'm going to try it again. I'm going to keep using it for my silicone, if nothing else. But next time, I might try warming my resin anyways, and then putting it through this. So, yes, the one thing I'm not going to do again is I'm not going to put this through the vacuum chamber when I'm trying to degas the silicone that's on top of it, because if you saw in the video, there was one spot where it just kept bubbling and bubbling and bubbling and bubbling, and that's because this is partially hollow, I'm sure. I can't imagine that the infill is 100%, because that would just be expensive and silly. You just need enough 3D printing to make it solid enough that it won't collapse on itself. And because it is 3D printed, I don't know if you can see it, but there are layers, and the layers are not always 100% sealed, so I was sucking the air out of this, not out of this. But, you know, that was an experience. That was a learning experience, and it's a teaching experience for you all as well. So yeah, I mean, it technically worked. I cut the key in the wrong place, so I put my lid back on in the wrong spot, so my dye looks funny. It has some bubbles because the degasser did not in fact degas it very well. I mean, it did really good for the way that I mixed the hell out of it, and I mixed the hell out of it on purpose. I was like whipping that thing so that it would have lots of bubbles. So I mean, it didn't do badly. I mean, look at that. It didn't do badly. You can see there's barely any bubbles. There are no bubbles inside of it. They're just the bubbles that were captured by the silicone itself and didn't want to let go of the silicone surface. But yeah, and that was, I even let it sit overnight. Did I cook it? No, I cooked it. I did cook it. So if I hadn't cooked it, those bubbles would have probably risen to the one face. Maybe. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, everything that I used works technically. Like I said, I might warm my resin anyways and put it through once, and then I might warm my resin or not warm my resin and put it through twice for 18 minutes. I don't know. We'll see what happens in the next video. So until then, stay safe.